Okay, live is preparing.
Okay.
And it looks like we are live on Facebook.
Okay, I don't know where I find it on here.
Try go to my personal.
Going to Christopher. Okay, then you need to make sure you're that it's public, right? Your settings, your privacy settings.
Yeah. Oh no, it still says live preparing. It's not doing anything yet. Go live on, okay, go, okay. It's public and reboot and thrive.
All right, it says it's streaming live.
Okay.
In this
meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. We've done it. Christopher Nelson, Amanda Nelson-Varnell, my sister, happy to have you here. Reboot and Thrive. This is week 2, full week 2. I had that one Friday session that announced what we're doing here, but really excited today. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Christopher Nelson. I am co-founder and principal at Wealthward Capital. We help busy technology executives and employees build passive income portfolios in real estate. And we've been hosting Reboot and Thrive because all of us are going through a hard reboot right now where systems are down, everything is being put back together, and we're hoping to infuse some new system commands. We're hoping to get some new information inside you so you can thrive during this time. And today I'm super excited as we kick off this week is Live Well. We're following the motto of Wealthward, which is build wealth, live well, make an impact. This is Live Well week, kicking off with my favorite and only sister.
And only,
Amanda.
I have a lock on the favorite, yeah. Hi.
That's right, hi. So why don't you tell everyone about Dish T'Pass, and I don't know if there's any other announcements that are gonna go out this week.
I don't have any like earth-shattering announcements. So my name's Amanda Nelson-Varnell, as Christopher told you. I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I own a catering company here called Dish T'Pass. So we're a corporate catering company specializing in high-volume corporate catering. We do a lot also in the nonprofit sphere, and we do our fair share of weddings. We opened in December of 2012, and so we're in our 8th year of business. And like nearly every food entity, mid-March created a very challenging situation for us. So within a matter of about 72 hours, all of the remainder of my March revenues, all of my April revenue, and vanished. So I took a few minutes to figure out what that was going to mean for me, and I think that what I've decided to do is to really kind of fall back on my life in my first chapter, which was stay-at-home mom and homeschooler. So homeschool administrator.
Yes.
So I understand, I'm now an empty nester, but I understand that, there are a lot of families out there, Christopher, just like yours, that are now homeschooling and running businesses from home and all of that. And that actually, I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that definitely was the life that I lived for the better part of 15 years. So I, as you all know, have 4 children who now range in age from 26 to 17. But for a good portion of their, little lives, I was full-time stay-at-home mom before I got into the catering business. So.
Well, and that's why, and that's experience that you have is why we want you here. It's what I personally lean on. So this is where I'm trying to bring forth my guru.
You're not actually going to cry today though, are you?
We don't know. We don't know. We're still early in the, 30 or plus minutes, so there could be tears shed as we start unpacking or skipping through the layers of this onion. But today we really want to focus on dinner table magic. I know that for myself, having young kids and trying to think about creating an environment of I don't know, I always envision a, Southern European family dinner table, slow food. You are definitely so much passion. I've learned a ton from you. Let's start a little bit with, like, what is your framework? Like, how do you think about, the goal of dinner table magic for families?
Oh, dinner table magic. So dinner table magic, the whole idea of, dinner time really being family time. I think for me, it goes back really to our childhood. I mean,
Yeah.
we had dinner as a family absolutely every night. There were very, very few exceptions until we reached those kind of later high school years. We were both really active, of course. And so for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. And then as it happened, the father of my children, my former husband, Phil, he was raised the very same way. I mean, dinner table every night. And so for us, as we began to have our family, we were both kind of in agreement that we wanted to have dinner together every night. And so, and I think that I, like a lot of parents, took a lot of that on myself initially. But then as the kids got older, I think recognizing that there was value in getting them involved in the process of creating a family dinner table. But I always just had a vision. I always wanted just a big table where, people would linger and talk and, share stories of, what went on in their day, and then, maybe clear the table and sit around and play a game, card game or board game or something. And so those definitely, I mean, I love that kind of those feelings of home, so and I think you can create that space where, whether or not it is your blood family or your friends that you choose to be your family, that feeling of acceptance and love and that kind of intangible that happens, that magic.
Well, and I think, I remember you talking about this, and what you shared with me is all of a sudden I had 2 and 3-year-old kids, is you told me everybody can have an age appropriate role at the dinner table. I thought that was really important. I thought the other thing that you shared with me was always the fact that, that there's a part of this time, you always really told a story of how should we be imprinting our kids' lives as we go through that. So can you?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not even that we are imprinting it. I believe that the most beautiful part of a life lived, like the most beautiful moments, are usually just the layering of what we would consider mundane moments, right? I mean, Taco Tuesday, build your own pizza on Friday. You layer that month after month after year. And what you've done is you've woven really the background of the tapestry that is your childhood. Right?
Yeah.
And so it creates a stability and a foundation and a sense of who you are and what the world, comprises of. I mean, I think that's why it's always important to have a very open dinner table where there's always room for one more person, because I think, having relatives come that, maybe one of my favorite aunt, Sandra, who has traveled the world, I mean, to come and talk about her stories and to evoke then that imagination in the kids that, like, wow, maybe one day I can travel the world and I can do this. And so I think, that is, so you go from something really basic like meatloaf and mashed potatoes to the possibility that, one day I can dine on a mountaintop in Switzerland. And so I think that's the fun part about the magic that happens around a dinner table.
So then so right now we really want to speak into a lot of people, throughout the country, that their lives have been compressed. Everyone's home, they're home a lot.
Right.
They're doing a lot of things around the dinner table. But when we think about, just starting at a macro, at a high level of how do we start navigating to creating some dinner table magic instead of, stressful, everybody just shove the food in your mouth and be distracted. How do we shift that focus?
Right, because we went from, all of us, I mean, myself included, to these like super overscheduled lives where you're, exactly, like everything to all of a sudden, without any preparation, right? So we couldn't like take a crash course or read a book or anything. Like all of a sudden we're just living it.
Yes.
Like it turned into, we're going to take a 2-week break to, oh my gosh. And actually it's for the next hereafter. So I think the first thing you need to do is really just don't panic, right? Like don't
That's
panic.
right.
Don't, and administer definitely a healthy dose of grace to yourself. Nobody prepared you for this, right? So, but the great news is there's also like no immediate report card. Like, nobody's standing over you tonight going, well, you failed today, or, oh my gosh, that was an A. Nobody's doing that.
Right.
What we do need to be mindful though are that there are some lives, right? Impressionable lives watching us. Like, how are we responding to this? So I would say that now that we know that we're here for a while, whether it's another 4 weeks or 8 weeks, we have the opportunity to really lay a foundation though for what happens hereafter at our dinner table. So I think the first thing you really do is to take a moment to become intentional about what you want your family dinner table to look like, to feel like, all of that. I would actually challenge you though, don't chase perfection, right? Great family dinner table stories are not about starched napkins and napkin rings and floral arrangements. They're about somebody falling back in their chair and the chair getting broken and the dog running through the table and then grandpa's teeth fell out. Like those are
right. Or I was always thinking
the best
squirting milk through the nose, right? Laughing so hard.
Oh yeah, laughing so hard that somebody, but those are the best dinner tables. And so it's not about perfection. It's about intentionality, and it's about the participants at the table feeling involved, that there's age appropriate engagement. But it does start with you setting that kind of intention and expectation of what you want, right? And then what can happen is there are a lot of tools to help to get you there. So you mentioned to me, we talked earlier this week, there's definitely meal planning tools. There are, chore charts. There are all these things that you can use then. There are dinner table conversation starters, all of those things that can help you to figure out who's supposed to do what. But I think the first thing to do is really to get your team together. That would be your family, like the people that are going to be participating in this, to get together for a meeting and just say around the table and say, here's the deal. We're in a new normal. It's new for me. It's new for all of you. But what we're realizing is that this is really actually a great thing, right? We get to basically turn it off, turn it back on. And all of the things that maybe we didn't like, things that we wish, maybe habits we had gotten into that we weren't super crazy about, we can throw those out. And I would say that, if your kids are 3 and up, you can involve them in the conversation. From what kind of job do you think you can do? Definitely things like emptying the dishwasher. My big thing always, like for me, dinner time started about an hour before we actually were sitting at the table, because it involved emptying the dishwasher. Making sure if you have an overflowing garbage can before dinner, go ahead and take that garbage out, get a new bag in the trash can, right? Like get everything ready to receive what's going to happen after dinner. And then for me too, like as I was preparing dinner, I did all kinds of crazy things. First of all, I'd always try to see just how few things I could dirty. Like
exactly.
Dinner, and I make the whole dinner with one spatula. No, but if you start with your dishwasher empty, then as you are dirtying stuff, you can be putting it in the dishwasher. But those littles definitely can empty the dishwasher. They can go ahead and set the table, right? And then get that ready. And now too, engage them in whatever kind of meal prep they can help with. If you're doing something that is getting roasted in the oven, they definitely can help to put that out on the baking sheet, to, those kind of things where they're just putting out vegetables or things like that, they can help to do. Obviously, we're teaching them wicked hand washing skills right now, right? Everybody's washing their hands so much. So yeah, but I mean, that just carries over into great kitchen practice anyway, right? And then I think the idea then that once dinner is served, that everybody then participates in what's happening around the table. And that involves asking questions and answering questions and learning how to have a conversation. It involves things like actual table manners, right? And how to use silverware. So that's when you mentioned the Southern European dinner. I think, I just recently took a trip to France, and I think what I'm always so amazed by is their silverware skills. They're so awesome. Like Americans, we like fumble, we switch our hands up. I mean, it's like crazy how we eat. But when you watch Europeans eat, they are just like proper and amazing. So that was my big takeaway.
Sandwiches, yes.
And this is what I know, right? Like you can actually, there are YouTube videos about how to set a table and great table manners. So it's all of those things that we actually have time now to have conversations about, and so we all have that story that we can tell to our kids about the friend that we used to have that would talk with food in their mouth and blah, 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 like we don't do that. And now we have time to address these things in an environment that isn't rushed. It isn't, doesn't have that kind of frenetic feel to it, because we're not on our way out the door to basketball practice or a dance recital we actually just have time.
Yeah.
But then dinner doesn't end when the food is in our stomachs. Dinner doesn't end until the kitchen is restored to normal, right?
Right.
Till the dishes are in the dishwasher, the leftover food is parceled up and put away, the countertops are wiped off, the dog or the cat has been fed, right? And then you go to your refrigerator and you take your open sign and you turn it around and you say, closed. The kitchen is now closed.
Right. No, and let's talk about that, because I know this is something that we're experiencing now. Everyone's home all the time. Kids come, oh, I want this, I want that. And they're shouting at us like we're short order cooks. And
I think definitely now's the time. So it's not even just sitting down and having a conversation about your dinner table and being intentional about your dinner table, intentional about what you want it to look like and feel like, and then setting the expectation for the family that, okay, so you're 5 years old. So your role is going to be to empty the silverware and to set the table. When we're done with dinner, your job is going to be to collect all the, cups and take them to the sink, make sure the liquid's emptied out of them and put them in the dishwasher. That's an age appropriate task. And that you're gonna, you set those expectations around the family dinner table. But we also now have an opportunity to really reboot and even go back further and say, okay, what is our family like? So this is what our dinner table looks like. But what is our family life going to look like? I know you and Regine do a great job of scheduling. She probably has a schedule on when to make her schedules. She's so scheduled, right? Am I right? Yeah. And so I think we have this opportunity to talk about, then what do we want our family life to look like, right? What are the nights where, I know a lot of parents right now are tag teaming. So I have several friends that, and I think you guys do this, where Regine works with the kids for a certain amount of time during the day. You work with them. The other half, you're both working then on the opposite sides. So, there are going to be those evenings where it's going to make sense for mom to go to her office or for dad to go to his office and get some quiet time. I know what I'm finding is that although Zoom is fabulous, I love Zoom. I'm becoming addicted to the Zoom. Zoom meetings actually take longer than real life meetings do. I think it's because it's different than just passing a coworker and having a conversation. Now we have this meeting and so what I'm finding is I get to the end of my day and I still have copious amounts of work that I need to do that responds to all the different Zoom meetings, right? So, the idea that, maybe mom works in her office on Mondays and Wednesdays, dad maybe, after dinner, dad takes Tuesdays and Thursdays after dinner to have quiet time and work time, and that the activities that happen in the evening might be different. But then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those can definitely be full on family nights. After dinner, we get a game out, we watch a movie, something like that. But the whole restructure of family life and what our households look like and age appropriate engagement and responsibilities, we have this awesome time right now to actually sit down and add structure to our lives that maybe didn't exist. Because typically in a household, one person does a bulk of the physicality revolving food and meals, right? And the other one maybe does stuff that has to do with the kids. I mean, so now is a time that we can actually look at, okay, what is a fair division of labor, age appropriate? These kids that haven't been taking care of the dog because, they're late for school. It's hard to get up so early. Well, now we're sleeping in, not sleeping in, but, I just know like my kids always had to, middle school and high school had to be at school by 7:15. Well, I guarantee you, they would not be getting up and doing school that early now that they don't have to.
Right.
And so they would have time to like water the dog, do those kind of chores. So
the chickens.
Yeah, you guys have chickens. Yeah.
The chickens. You got to do the chickens. We don't have any dogs. So you covered off on a lot there. And so I just want to go back and recap for everyone. So I think, framing this up, dinner table magic is really about being intentional, taking the opportunity now to the reboot and saying, what do you really want your dinner table to be like? What is your vision of family coming together, sharing a meal, and it continuing afterwards? And then also, how do we give everyone an age appropriate role so that they can help the preparation, the meal, and then the post meal and the shutdown of the kitchen, and also getting everyone engaged that, the kitchen is an open and shut thing, and that it's not open all the time. And, having those conversations as well. I think that's true. And then the larger backdrop is we have an opportunity right now to really reboot, be intentional, because it's these mundane things that happen day in and day out that is really sewn into the fabric of our lives. And I think that's true.
It really creates a sense of security for everybody, and I think it's missing for a lot of people. It has been. I mean, I think that is what I'm hearing from my friends that have littles at home, is just like, I'm like, the great thing is I've always wanted to have more time to do these things. But the tricky part is, but now can you kind of tell me how to do that? Because
right.
Yeah, I just got this big grocery order in, and like, what do I actually do with this chicken now that I have it? Yeah. So I see a lot of people baking. There's so many people, that are making bread. I think, yeah, I know.
I have some pain au lait right now that's rising as we speak. Right. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
How geeky is that?
So I think we really can begin to see this time that where there is a lot of uncertainty, there are some things that are really certain. And that is, we've got kids in the house. They are going to want to eat every day. We need to kind of get them around it and help weave that into things that they're responsible for. This is such a beautiful time to really impart real life skills to them. So yeah. And so my plan, a lot of people have been asking me locally in Chattanooga what I plan to do. And I am on the verge of launching really as a family dinner table specialist, kind of an online coaching forum where we where I'll be doing some teaching, and we'll provide an opportunity for people to share tips and tricks of their own. So if you think about, the travel guy, Rick Steves?
Of course.
Okay, so like what Rick Steves has done for travel, I really want to help do for your dinner table and your family life as a family dinner table specialist. So we can talk more about that on Thursday when I come back to talk about homeschooling.
Let's do that. What
Yeah.
I would like you to leave, because I know that we were riffing a little bit before this while I was trying to get the live started. And however, you were coming up with 3 or 4, food tips, strategies that people could do. And I thought, one of them was the frozen breakfast burritos.
Oh, absolutely. So I
drain a
think,
couple, just rattle off some things.
So I think one of the things that we always did Saturday mornings in our home was always pancakes. And so Phil would make a giant batch of pancake batter. And he had a secret recipe, which isn't that secret, but we could talk about that later. But the pancake batter, and then he would make pancakes for breakfast, but then he would make up probably, maybe 10 or 15 extra pancakes that then we would package up and put in the freezer for the week, the rest of the week. So, kids could pull them out, fix for breakfast. Another thing that kind of goes along with that kind of big batch cooking that is easy to do is like breakfast burritos. So to make up a breakfast burritos, big batch of scrambled eggs and some toppings and tortillas, go ahead and wrap them up in parchment and freeze them. And then you can bring those out and heat them up for breakfast. Also like little smoothie mixes. And so, you can, get your frozen fruit or maybe get a bunch of bananas and some berries and yogurt and make individual what you would need for the kid to just dump in a little, power thing to make those smoothie up. Yeah, those things I think are great. We also, the other thing we had talked about was in our house, we usually had 2 or 3 kinds of breakfast cereal, but they weren't for breakfast. They were for that meal that comes right before bed, so the kid has eaten a huge dinner. And then, they've had bath and reading and whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm starving. I can't go to sleep unless you feed me. I haven't eaten. And it's like, oh my gosh. And so that's what we used breakfast cereal for. So you can have a bowl of cereal before you go to bed. And so, and that is what that is designated. Again, you're intentional. Like that's what that is. You don't eat on it all day. I'm a big believer in making a little open sign and then closed for your kitchen. You eat when it's time to eat. And then the things that you can set aside, again, taking some time, maybe one evening a week, getting the family involved in doing this, but you could prep up, some veggies and some fruit, things that actually are healthy snacks because, maybe some little nut butters or things like that. And of course it is less expensive when you buy it in a bulk container and just portion it out yourself.
Right.
And again, that's someplace. So when you start to think about a homeschool, so I'll give you a little teaser for Thursday. And your work coming on Thursday, homeschooling, creating an atmosphere of excellence. When you have like you, or you have twins, and then you have one not that much older, it's kind of that busy work. So when you're in a traditional classroom, the school teacher would be like, okay, you need to copy 18 sentences off the board right now. Well, we don't have giant chalkboards and we don't really do that anymore. What you could do though is have 1 or 2 kids, if you have, tasked on maybe, dividing up cereal or slicing up cucumbers or, making little healthy snack packs or smoothie packs. But that whole idea that the family dinner table then transitions through the day, right? So the family dinner table is dinner table at night, but during the day, it might be your school table now. But so somebody's at the table working, maybe getting a little extra help or maybe just having a little peace and quiet while the parent is working with the younger ones, packaging snacks or something. But those things can happen simultaneously. I think the whole idea for working parents right now is how do we, get school done between wake and lunchtime.
Yes.
Yeah. And then put another parent then in charge of, what happens. And we'll talk about this on Thursday siesta. But the whole idea that we also as parents have our own jobs to do. It's not like our only job is managing this homeschool. So We'll talk about
Well,
that.
gosh, well, that was amazing. There were a lot of tips there. I remembered a few of them, but I will definitely put like what time
Yeah.
those tips start so that people can go and review those. But thank you so much, Amanda. I am excited for Thursday because I know ourselves, you know, figuring out this whole homeschooling thing, it is a new skill. And I think the interesting thing is, you know, we're getting the curriculum from somebody else through
Exactly.
these new devices. So that's also a bit of a learning curve as well too. But exciting stuff. Thank you so much. I love you dearly.
I love
And I
you
hope
too.
everybody really enjoyed this. Please, you know, leave some comments, DM us if you know, want to hear more about, you know, what Amanda's doing. Thank you so much for joining Reboot and Thrive.
All right.
See you tomorrow.